Hi everybody, welcome to the SOS Clinic for the week. I am your host, Bon Bonadeo, and your coach, Bon Bonadeo. So if you're already in the SOS Salon coaching program, welcome to your weekly series, your weekly clinics. Today's clinic is going to be on education. If you're new to the SOS Salon coaching program, then each and every week I do a clinic every Monday at noon. You're welcome to join me live and get some additional coaching time. Or you can listen to the replay, which will be posted in the Facebook group under units. So if you go over to the left-hand sidebar, you'll see units. Click on units, and all of the weekly sessions will be there. And of course, we base this on our framework of the SOMME framework. Some will be successful, and some will not. And today, we're going to be talking about framework. So our title, our clinic is on the education. And our title is Training Your Crew to Survive. And instead of talking about the crew right now, we're going to talk about the number one issue that we're all facing right now, which is hiring new staff and keeping the staff that we have. So those two things always kind of fit together side by side. So we want to be able to maintain the staff that we have. We can't neglect them. We want to be able to make sure that we're providing for them so we don't lose them. But there's also a point right now where I think that we've lost a lot of people to our industry with COVID. It's been very stressful. Some people are thinking that it's, they just can't keep doing it. They don't want to expose themselves. There's still a lot of fear with this virus going on. Some people have just decided maybe this is the time that I want to spend more time with my kids, or this is the time that I've always wanted to do something different, and I'll do something different. There's a lot of variations why we're leaving. Some people are leaving us. Some people are just like, I feel more comfortable going into my own suite, or, maybe this is not a good fit for me and I want to go somewhere else. So all of those variables, I hate to think that they're leaving you to go into a suite or to go work into another salon in your same community, but it does happen. It does happen, and we have to face those facts in there. So, training your crew to survive is really what we're going to say is putting together some framework that supports them to continue to keep growing. Now, we all know that, if recruitment, one of the number one concerns right now is new staff, and it might be a close second to new clients, or you could be the opposite. You could be in a position where you absolutely need new clients because you have staff that are not busy at this point. So either one of those situations are going to kind of project what I'm going to talk about here, which is framework. So I'm not going to give you all the solutions to these two particular problems here, but I'm going to give you some framework to start creating a foundation that's going to make it easier for you to create duplicatable systems that you can keep going and have in motion all the time. Now, one of the things that I say to the salons that I coach is you should be in recruitment mode all the time. Okay, you should have a framework set up for recruitment all the time. Doesn't mean you're promoting it or running advertisements on it all the time, but you should have a recruitment process that is 24/7. In other words, there should always be something on your website that says, find out more about working for our salon. And then they click on it and it takes them through what they would need to do in order to find out more about working in your salon, or call us today for an interview, or set up a time to come in and meet the team. Any of those things, whatever those things are, it's a framework that you're putting together. So that would be a 24/7 approach to always being in the recruitment mode. I would say that if we're promoting safety right now, then the second thing we need to be promoting is that we have available positions. And I'm going to say that this needs to be separate from we're hiring, come work for us. I'm going to say that this is going to be separate from looking for new team players, that type of thing. Make it less about you and more about them, because one of the reasons why somebody's going to want to come work for you is because of it would be a good fit for them, or what you're offering them in order to make it an attractive opportunity for them. So you have to stop saying, these are the type of people we're looking for, and you have to start promoting, this is why we're the team you want to work for. okay? So you're promoting your values and what drives your business and what has your business be successful to an ideal candidate instead of promoting it what an ideal candidate is to come to you. Do you see the transition in that? So that would be establishing a framework here. So let's look at the SUM framework that we do each and every week. We go through these 5 frameworks here. So, it starts with sales, operation, mindset, marketing, education. Today, we're in the education part of the framework here. So each week, these are live weekly clinics that you can join me or you can listen to at a later date because they will be in your SOS Facebook group page. And today we're going to talk about building, build it in a framework. Whatever it is that you need to be doing, whatever it is that you're struggling with, we're going to teach you how to build it into a framework here. And it's creating a simplified system and structure for what you need to be focusing on. Okay, so here's framework defined: an essential supporting structure, a building, vehicle, or object. Similar is frame, substructure, structure, skeleton, chassis, shell, body, bodywork, support, scaffolding, foundation. Okay, those are all kind of words associated with framework. So I want you to think about, like skeleton is a really good one. Like we wouldn't be able to be in motion. We wouldn't be able to be doing all the things that we're doing if we didn't have a skeleton to kind of hold us together. So our skeleton is our framework. Our skin then envelops our framework so that we can be whole and one piece, okay, to be able to do that. But the skeleton itself is our framework that allows us to be human and be in motion and move and everything, okay? So another way to look at this is a basic structure, underlying system, concept, or text, okay? So this would be creating a framework of developing systems or concepts. So here's what I say is that a framework provides structure, and structure provides stability and trust provides opportunities. Opportunities provides advancement. Advancement provides security. Security provides loyalty. Loyalty provides longevity. Longevity supports a solid brand. So if you've been in business or you have a solid approach to business and everything, then you have a brand. And brand is what's going to provide us a living. And people want to work for strong, sustainable brands. And you, as the owner of your business, is a part of that strong and sustainable brand. So you in yourself are a framework that you need to be promoting as to why people need to come work for you or why clients need to come visit your salon. You in itself are a framework, and you need to determine how to be able to promote that. How you're going to structure opportunities to build a brand is a framework. How you're going to look at different parts of your business, whether it's in sales, operations, mindset, marketing, or education, is in itself going to be a framework within a framework to be able to get new business, find new talent, sell more retail, upgrades, create more upgrades within your salon, okay? All right, so again, here's the framework for the SUM framework that we use in the salon, SOS salon coaching program: sales, operations, mindset, marketing, and education. You guys will hear me say this every week, because I will, that, sales is obviously the main proponent to success. So all roads lead to sales in order to have that success. So if you have good operational structure or good framework in your operation, then it's going to lead to great sales. If you have a good mindset going on right now about how you're going to rebuild your business, it is going to increase sales. If you understand marketing and branding and the strategies behind marketing branding, which is a framework in itself, it is going to lead to more sales. If you learn new techniques, skills, and trainings that are going to help you to grow your business, it is going to lead to sales. So all roads lead to sales, just like all roads lead to Rome, right? Okay, so here's just some examples, you guys. If you think about framework, I want you to think about, a frame. It's holding the picture. The picture is really what we are wanting to put our eyes on in itself, but the frame is kind of creating the structure to it. Now, sometimes the frame part of it can be very simple, and the internal part of the framework or the picture can also be very simple. It doesn't have to be complicated at all. It could be 3 steps to booking your appointment. It could be 3 steps to acknowledging a client when they walk in the door. These are all examples of framework, okay? Now, sometimes your framework might be very complicated, sophisticated, and and intricate here. So that would be more like the picture in this frame has got to be maybe as powerful as the frame itself. So looking at this very ornate frame might say to you that you couldn't just put a very simple picture in it, or if you did, it would make it very interesting. An ornate frame with something very simple in there. But typically, it would be something that's as intricate in its structure as the frame itself. Okay, so this might be your policy and procedure manual, your salon handbook. This could be your, the way that you manage promotions, how you pay your employees. It could be an intricate framework that you follow in order to have the success and things to be less complicated on top of that. Okay. Now, it could also be that the framework is colorful. It could be that it's sketchy. It could be that it's a work in progress, or it's always in draft form. It's okay. And there could be another framework that it's very, pretty or flowery. It's something that you put out for clients to be able to see. So you want it to be able to look good and attract particular people. Okay. So, how you do your posts on social media, how your Instagram looks, the way that you promote things on Instagram. Is it haphazardly, or is there a really pretty framework that you have in place? Is there some consistencies that you always do in order to have it look powerful and to draw attention to it? Or is it just kind of, sketchy and it's a work in progress in a sense? So again, examples of framework. So let's look at some framework here. The idea behind framework is to be able to create opportunities to promote. It's to be able to have guidelines in place of how we function, how we can grow. So if you have an apprentice program, that apprentice program that you have, or a training program that you have in the salon, in itself is a framework. And if you can communicate that framework to somebody with clarity, they would potentially be interested in jumping into what you have to offer, or being, looking at what you have to offer as an opportunity for them. But if you're kind of all over the place and haphazardly with, what you offer or how things are designed, people may be like, you're not clear on what you offer, so I'm not clear on this, if this is an opportunity for me. Okay. So here's some ideas of, or some others. So promoting things, guidelines to things, procedures and policies, all can be built in a framework. And you can either be just very structured, or you can create some levity to the framework in itself. So here's some other areas that you might have some frameworks in place, or you might need to look at creating frameworks in place. So what is your front desk policy? Let's say just even for COVID right now. So what we know for our front desk is when a client comes in, we take their temperature. Okay, so they have the thermometer ready to go. After they take their temperature, they let them know that they're okay and that their stylist will be ready. They then inform the stylist that the client is here. The client goes and sits in the waiting area, or social distance themselves to this particular area, or is waiting outside, depending on how you have all of this set up. From there, the stylist comes and acknowledges the client, brings them back to their chair, asks them. At this point, we were asking 4 questions to be able to make sure that we could carry on the service at this point. Are you sick right now? Are you, in a household with anybody that's sick or has been diagnosed with COVID, that type of thing. And once those questions are done, we can then go into the consultation and then proceed into the service itself. Okay, like I'm a whiz at framework. I can create very simple frameworks, and all it's doing is creating a step-by-step order or structure to how things need to go. And the more frameworks that you can establish within your business, the more foundation that you have things built on, and the less that people will try to take advantage of situations or, you know, play with those boundaries. Okay, so I see all the time things posted on these Facebook forums where people are asking for, you know, I have so many clients that have no-showed on me or canceled or showing up late. Who has a policy in place of what you do for clients that no-show? Okay, what that is it's a framework. Now, just because somebody shares with you their policy or framework doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. There could be other things that need to be implemented or put into place in order for that framework to work. You know, the most important thing for frameworks to be able to work is that they have a solid foundation. So you could say, oh, all my clients are showing up late. But then you could ask, do you have a confirmation policy in place? Do you have a framework around how they're getting confirmed in order for them to be on time or not no-show? So the framework could say, oh, if you're late, I'm going to charge you. But the truth is you might need to look back in your own business of your own operations and say, I don't have a confirmation program set up. So they're not getting a notification that says, hey, your appointment's next week. We look forward to seeing you. We have your appointment scheduled for tomorrow. See you then. Just confirming that your appointment is at 10 a.m. today. Right? Then that's a framework in itself. Then if they don't meet the guidelines of this framework, you can create another framework that says, if in fact you no-show or you're late, here is the policies or guidelines that we're going to put into place and implement for those people that are taking advantage of our boundaries. But boundaries are only taken advantage of because there's not a framework in place. In other words, there's not structure set up that within the particular situation or circumstance that is happening for them to understand. If a client doesn't know that you have a no-show policy, then your no-show policy doesn't exist. But if you have promoted and you have expressed and you have in writing somewhere this no-show policy, then you can continue to build these boundaries around this particular framework to prevent clients from coming in or from being late or no-showing in there. Okay, so let's look at some areas of framework. Front desk, hiring could be a framework. How you manage your inventory could be a framework. Recruitment, again, as I talked about early in this session, could be a framework. Marketing or campaigning, certain opportunities, certain services, certain products in itself could be a framework in there. And the idea behind this is that you want to be able to make it stick. So if a framework is put into place, you want it to be easy to communicate, easy to implement, easy to follow, and easy to understand in such a way that if people are not following it or not doing it, then your framework needs to be maybe restructured a little bit. You want it to be very easy to understand. Now, acronyms are a great way, or you know, promotional tags, taglines, and things like that are a great way to be able to make frameworks fun and easy to remember in there. Brand jacking is an opportunity to be able to create frameworks. In other words, you're showcasing or using analogies of how other people do it in order to create a similarity to how you're doing it. Numbering things. So the first thing we do when a client comes in is this. The second thing we do is this. The third thing is this. You probably have a framework set up of how you book appointments, how you answer the phone, how you lock up your business at the end of the day, how you open the business when you come in the morning, you know, how things are set up on your shelves. These are all frameworks, and it doesn't mean that they need to all be in writing and all, you know, structured out and typed out and implemented and put into a book, but you have a way of doing it. Now, the more that you have a way of doing it and you can put it in writing so that the next person that comes along, you could say, I'm not going to do inventory anymore. It's a time sucker for my role as owner or manager. I'm going to delegate this particular inventory to one of my staff and team members. Okay. Now I have a plan that I'm providing to them. So here's how we do this. So you're teaching them a framework in there. It could be letters, ABC. You know, the alphabet itself is, you know, singing the song is a framework for kids to remember the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, you know, that type of thing. That's a framework. and they put it into a song in order for kids to remember the alphabet. When you're campaigning, it can be set up in a framework. How that works. Slogans, names, just do it is a framework for Nike to be able to always focus in on the lifestyle part of their brand. Okay, they're not focusing in, just do it doesn't mean, this is how our shoes are made. They're stitched up, 172 times, and we're using the highest quality rubber that we can on the sole. That they're not talking about how they're building their shoes, but I bet inside Nike there's a framework of exactly how their shoes are built. But from a promotional point, when they want to get it into the hands of consumers, they're not talking about how their shoes are made. They're talking about the lifestyle they want you to adapt to, which aligns with their shoes and potentially you. Okay, so think about it when you're talking about slogans, names, campaigns. Think about it like that. What is it that you're trying to attract? And how sticky can you make it based on a framework of bringing people in or having them remember you? Now, the more opportunities that you can get people to remember you, the more opportunities that they're going to eventually do business with you, refer you, follow you, find you, whatever those things are. Okay, I don't know if you guys ever heard the commercial, 1-800 cars for kids, 1-800 cars for kids, or something like that. Oh my gosh, it's on the radio quite a bit, right? So we could all sing that song, and we were all thinking, okay, so if I ever had a car that I didn't want and I wanted to donate it, I would be donating it to Cars for Kids, right? I don't know anybody else that does this, but I sure know that Cars for Kids does this, okay? Cars for Kids with a K. Okay. All right, so let's look at some frameworks that you guys might be familiar with so that you can kind of now piece this together in your mind. So TSA, the 3-1-1 rule, when they came out with that. So it was 3 ounces, okay, in singular containers or whatever it is. You know what it is, a 3-1-1 rule. But it was a way that they put it into a framework or a structure for us to be able to remember that we can have up to 3 ounces. We can have 1 carry-on or whatever. I don't even know what it is at this point. I haven't traveled in so long that I don't even remember the 3-1-1 rule. Yeah. And then if you go to the CDC website, and the first thing that's on there, of course, is COVID, because that is the topic of conversation right now. That's what we're in. But if you go to the CDC website, they talk about how to protect yourself and others from COVID. And it is very structured. So it's a little picture, and then it's vocabulary. It's a little picture, and it's vocabulary. It's a little picture and vocabulary. That is a framework. So it's, wear a mask, wash your hands frequently, these type of things, right? I have several frameworks that I use, and like I said, they're easy for me to build, and it creates a lot of structure around how I'm teaching it. So if I'm on a conversation with somebody, or if I'm doing a podcast or a webinar or an invited guest in any of these things, I could say, well, one of the frameworks that I use in order to have success with that is the following, okay? So it allows how to be more successful at certain things based on framework I put together. Now, I am not reinventing the wheel. Okay? Nobody really is at this point. We're not reinventing the wheel. I'm just taking the things that I know to be true that if you follow, you can have some level of success. And then I'm putting them into story type ways or acronyms or clever phrases to be able to make them more memorable. Okay, make them more memorable here. So like we talked about today, we have the SOME framework. Okay, so the SOME. It was just SOME, but when COVID hit, I added mindset in there, so I added the extra M. So it's still the SOME framework, and I say some people will be successful, and some people will not. And these 5 pillars of success: sales, operations, mindset, marketing, and education. If you understand this particular framework, and you don't neglect any one of these particular pillars, you will have a strong foundation of a business and inevitable success by putting your focus in each and every one of them. Now, within each of those frameworks, okay, so sales is other sub frameworks that I have established and worked on in order to help people to be better at the selling approach. Same with operations, same with marketing, same with mindset, same with education here. I have a framework that's called, the story brand. And the STORE is part of how you would build a story timeline that helps you to be able to introduce yourself. So if you were going to be an educator, you were going to go do a class, you were going to speak in front of some beauty school students, or you were going to be on a podcast, how to be able to structure a story as a great introduction to get that, make that first level of connection with people. Okay, so there's a starting point, a turning point, an overture, a relatability, and then of course your transformation. So there's the STORY and set up in a framework. I also have the coaching formula that I've developed that's called the WAIT. Okay, and this is not only how I coach with my clients, but how I also teach other people to be able to coach as leaders in their organizations. Okay, and it's a very simple framework that allows you to take conflict resolution to a very safe and peaceful conversation that you can have in there. So it's ask the question, wait for the reply, acknowledge what they've said, insert new language, or ask, in other words, insert new language or ask them another question, and of course tether it to a close. So if you're ready to close, if not, you go back to the beginning of it and you ask another question, you wait for reply, you acknowledge, you insert language, you tether it to a close. If you can't close, you go back up to the thing. So you just are staying in that conversation, but repeating this framework over and over again until you have the end result, or you've created the outcome and the impact that you want to have based on these sometimes difficult conversations that we have to have as leaders. Okay, you want to find out more about that? We teach that in the SOS Salon coaching program as well. Now, BLM, right now we're all familiar with BLM. We know that it means Black Lives Matters, but the framework within Black Lives Matters is maybe clear to some of us, but maybe not clear to all of us. So there's an opportunity to be able to look further into that. But I use this as an example because this in itself is a framework that is very popular right now. And it's created an enormous amount of awareness. And we're all looking, deep and wide into this, what's happening here with Black Lives Matter, so that we can all be more present and compassionate and humane in our dealings with other people. Okay. And then of course, I'm going to use this as an example, you guys, because it is a brilliant framework. Whether it's you align with it or not is not the issue that I'm bringing up here. But we all know what MAGA is, and we all understand that that is a framework that says "Make America Great Again." Okay, that is a campaign slogan used for marketing to be able to be able to run this campaign to its outcome and an end here. And it's really, you have to think about it from a marketing standpoint. It's a very well designed framework. Okay, framework sells. Framework connects. Framework brings people together. It eliminates the gray areas and the questions that people may have, or the not knowing how to go about something. It eliminates that so that you can establish stronger boundaries, stronger goal setting, stronger results, stronger outcomes in whatever it is that you're doing. So here's my challenge for you guys is I want you to look at your frameworks, okay, or a framework. I want you to look at your business as a whole, your name and your tagline. That in itself is a framework. So it should be, if you said your name, would I know if it's a salon or a dry cleaners or an educational facility or a grocery store? Would I know? Would I know just if you told me your name? Okay. But if your name also then incorporates who you are, what you do, okay, what kind of business you are, and a tagline, how it benefits me, that is then a full framework. Then it becomes a complete framework. So now I know the name of your salon, or I know the name of your business. I understand that it is a salon, okay? And I understand how it could potentially benefit me. So If you don't have that in place, that's something that we really need to work on. It's something that certainly if you were a part of the SOS Salon coaching program, we could work on, okay? So what frameworks do you need to implement, revise, or create, okay? Where are you struggling in your business that it's not making the connection with society right now, within your community right now? We're all in a rebuilding process. So now is the time to really look at frameworks to be able to establish some new connections with people. You might be able to put a framework together that just works for your staff, okay? So when, those of us that got, those salons that got PPP money, you had to establish a framework. I mean, they gave you guidelines, so there was a framework already set up, but you had to establish your own frameworks of how that money was going to be spent with your business, so that you could utilize it to stay afloat, so that you could utilize it to be able to get that, that 100% forgiveness in there. So once it was handed to you, you had to develop a framework of how you were going to use it within the guidelines that they provided you. Okay? All right, so what frameworks do you need to implement, revise, or create? I want you to look at 3 areas in your business that you're struggling with and put some framework attached to this. You're going to define a plan, you're going to build that framework, and you're going to put it into action. Now, if you come up with a framework after watching this video and you want to be a part of the SOS Salon Coaching Program, please go to sossaloncoaching.com and you can sign up to have a free consultation with me to be able to see if this is a good fit for you, or you could just sign up right there from that particular website and jump in and join us at this point. If you're already working with me, then I want you to look at a particular framework that you're going to bring to our next coaching session, to be able to, that we can bring it to life and establish a little bit more structure and boundaries around it. Now, if you haven't watched the 5 Secrets to Building Your Brand Identity That Sells, then I want you to watch this. But I also want you to watch it because it's built on frameworks. Okay, so the webinar itself is a framework, but within the webinar, the 5 secrets to marketing and branding that you need to know is a framework. The 5 strategies to be able to have your brand sell you and your products and services is a framework. The 1 simple hack is a framework. The 3 biggest myths is a framework. So this entire webinar was built on framework, on framework, on framework. It's for you to have a better understanding of how to be able to have a really strong brand. So I'd love for you to watch it, but I also would love for you to just see how we've built frameworks within this particular program. And of course, again, if you're one of my clients right now, I appreciate you, and I look forward to working with you and establishing some frameworks that are going to not only support you in the training of your staff and keeping your staff and training your team, your crew to survive, but also being able to look at where areas in your business may not be fitting anymore with who you are. You may have evolved, and you might need some new framework. So for those of you that are with me, thank you for joining me. For those of you that would like to be a part of the SOS Salon Coaching Program, please go to the Salon, SOSSalonCoaching.com, and you can select 1 of 3 buttons. You can buy into the 3-month program, which provides you some one-on-one courses, these weekly clinics, as well as monthly masterminds. You can also do just the $97 a month membership, where you're just getting the weekly clinics and the mastermind. Or you can set up, one of the buttons is to be able to set up a free coaching session with me to be able to see just the right fit for you. All right, thanks for joining me today, guys, in our clinic, our weekly clinics, and the clinic today was education. We'll see you next week. We're going to be talking about sales. We're going to take the framework conversation to the next level.